Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too. All right, welcome in. It is a busy time of year. Feels like there's always something going on, right? We've got Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. It happens to be on a weekend this year, or both of them do, and so maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, but either way, there's something going on all the way. There has been something going on since Thanksgiving, and it feels like it just doesn't slow down. And for me, my youngest, her first birthday is on Christmas Eve, and so this weekend, or this coming weekend, is going to be extremely busy. 3 days in a row of family gatherings. And so one of the topics that I know many of my clients, many of the people I talk to struggle with is, how do you navigate, the holidays? How do you navigate social gatherings while trying to lose weight without overdoing it? And if you're somebody who travels a lot, you're somebody who goes to maybe lots of office parties, or somebody who just likes to, maybe enjoy themselves a little bit on the weekends, it can be very challenging to, always have to say no, always feel like you're stressed. There's something that's kind of going to derail you. And so one of the strategies that I like to use is, instead of thinking you have to do it all, right? You have to be on all the time. I want you to make a list of things you're willing to do and things you're not willing to do, right? And so maybe some of those things you're willing to do is you're willing to track your food during the week. You're willing to exercise 2 to 3 times. You're going to hit the gym after work on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, let's say. One thing you're not willing to do is get up early. One thing you're not willing to do is give up the couple beers you enjoy with your buddies on Friday night, right? So you make that list there. So once you make that list of what you're not willing to do, it becomes much easier to start planning things and start to figure out, how can I make this work for me, right? Many times, it can be hard to have a strategy that works for you when you're not honest with yourself about what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And so for me, I'm willing to get up early in the morning and get things done. I'm not always willing to do a strength training workout as soon as I get up. Now, sometimes I do, depending on the schedule, but I'm not willing to do that every single day. And so I don't stress out about that, because it's on my list of things that I'm not willing to do. I'm willing to track my food. And so during the week, typically, 80% of the time, I'm very consistent. And so those times, like last night when we had pizza night with the family, I didn't stress out over it, because I knew that today I was going to get right back on track. And so I'm not willing to give up pizza night with the family during the week. I'm not willing to give up, cheesecake, birthday cake at my kids' birthday parties and things like that. I'm not willing to give those things up. And so that's on my list of things that I'm not willing to do. And so I don't negotiate with that, right? I don't think about, oh, maybe I should give this up. Maybe I should do this. It's already on my list. I've already made that decision. And so if you can make those lists and then stand with it, it's going to make things a lot easier, right? And so then you just have to plan around that, right? If you're somebody who's willing to work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, get those workouts in. You are committed to that. Get those done. If you haven't set it's a time or the days that you are committed to working out, there's a good chance that, one, it's not going to get done, and two, if you miss a workout, it's going to stress you out a lot more, right? If I told myself I'm going to work out, I'm committed, I'm willing to work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for whatever reason, I missed that Wednesday workout, no big deal. I'm just going to get my Friday workout done. I'm not going to stress and try and get it in on Thursday, because I already know that day is taken up by other priorities. And if I shift those around, something else has to give, right? Basic economic principle of trade-offs, right? I didn't take a lot of economics classes in college. I did take one, and that was something that really stuck out to me. And I think about that constantly, like the trade-offs, right? you do something, something else has to, you're not able to do that, right? And so very, very basic, right? Don't hire me as your tutor for your economics 101 class, but you get the idea there, right? If you do something, you're unable to do something else. And so that's what I want you to do. That's what's going to help you stay on track over the holidays. That's what's going to help you stay on track on the weekends throughout the whole year, right? And so like Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, these are things that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, right? These are memories you're going to make. You're not going to care about how much you weighed, right? If you're 220 pounds and your goal is to get to 200. Well, if you weighed 219 the day after Christmas compared to 217, would that make or break your progress? Absolutely not, right? And when you put it in those terms, it sounds simple, right? But in the moment, it can be very hard. And so maybe on your list is that you're willing to give up dessert on Christmas. If you want to give up dessert on Christmas, that's fine, as long as you make that conscious choice that you're going to do it, right? Don't tell yourself that I'm willing to do this when you're not actually, and then when you have a piece of dessert or something, it's going to stress you out. Then you're going to probably have two. We get into that all or nothing mindset, and so just be honest with yourself, right? Just be honest. I'm not somebody who is willing to go for a run every single day. I like to run occasionally. I'm not a great long distance runner, but I find it enjoyable to get outside, especially early in the morning when it's dark out. Right, it's just me and the streets, running. It's pretty nice. Most of the time I just go for a long walk, but I do enjoy, getting outside as much as I can. Um, and sometimes, that is a run, right? And I'll give myself an incentive. Like I'm willing to run if, I can end my route at the gas station and, buy a drink and walk home, just something simple like that. And so that's something I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to sign up for a marathon next month, right? That's not something that interests me at this point in my life. But Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, these are holidays. These are times that you're going to enjoy spending with your family, right? And like I said, my youngest, her first birthday is on Christmas Eve, and so we've got people coming over on the 23rd. We're going to celebrate Christmas Eve the 24th on her birthday, and then we've got Christmas Day. So we've got like 3 days there. I'm planning a kind of a getaway for my wife. Hopefully, she listens to this episode after Christmas, but if she doesn't, that's okay. We just ruined the surprise there. But so I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 days there where, um, I'm gonna be kind of off my normal routine, and that's okay. I started the second week of November, a 7 week mini cut. My goal was to lose 1 pound, 1 pound by the end of, or sorry, 1 pound a week for the rest of the year. So 7 pounds in 7 weeks. As of the beginning of this week, I was about 5 pounds down. So I'm right on track. Now, this next week is going to make it very challenging, right? And so I had to make sure that, if I want to reach that goal, is that something I'm willing to do? Is that something that I am willing to stick with? And my answer to that is yes, right? And so how am I going to do that? How do I stay on track when there's going to be all this food, right? We're having pizza for lunch for my daughter's birthday. We're having cake. We're having ice cream. We're having all these things. We've got Christmas Eve. We've got Christmas Day. How am I going to continue to lose weight? Well, this isn't my first time doing this, right? So I've come up with some strategies that that work for me, that I teach my clients, and that they are very helpful. But they only work if you do them, right? And they only work if you're consistent with them. And so one of the things that I always like to do is I like to, as best as I can, I like to always plan ahead, right? If I can find out ahead of time what I'm going to eat, I can plan ahead, right? If we're going out to eat, I can just look at the menu. If I'm going to, a family's house, a relative's house, and they're cooking a meal, if I can figure out what they're having ahead of time, then I can start to plan the day, right? And so, am I going to have my mother-in-law weigh out everything she cooks? Of course not. right? You're not going to be invited back there very often, right? And so you want to make sure that what you're doing and what your plan is that it's realistic, right? And so bringing a food scale to where you go and things like that, probably not the best choice, right? And that's going to get a little bit over the top, and then all of a sudden you're going to be stressed out about trying to make the right choice. And so what I do is the same thing I always do. I make sure I include protein with my meals. So that's what I'm gonna load up on first. On whatever kind of protein it is. That could be, steak. That'd be awesome if they're cooking steak. Don't think that's gonna happen, but maybe a nice prime rib. Somebody for their Christmas dinner might invite me over for there. If that's you, just let me know. But maybe some kind of turkey or chicken or pulled pork, something like that. Load up on the protein first. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, some kind of, fruits, vegetables. So if we're having steak, probably, like green beans or, whatever's coming with it, some mashed potatoes or something like that. I like to load up on the kind of the fruits and vegetables before I do things. Although the mashed potato is going to be still a vegetable, right? It's going to be a little bit more filling, higher in calorie than some of like the leafy greens and things like that. So I will put those on first, and then I worry about adding, the things like the starches, like the potatoes, maybe some other fats and things like that. And if I have, some room left, I'll worry about dessert, right? But then I'm going to focus on the same things that I normally do. I'm going to focus on eating slowly. I'm going to focus on eating without distractions. I'm going to focus on eating until satisfied, right? So I want to stop before I get full. And so I have no idea how many calories I'm going to eat. I could guess, but that's not the point of it, right? I want to be able to enjoy myself without stressing over all the little details, right? And so I'm going to get my protein in. I'm going to get my fruits and vegetables in. I'm going to add maybe some potatoes and things like that. I'm going to eat slowly. I'm going to eat until satisfied. And then if I'm still hungry, I'll add a little bit of dessert. And for me, my rule, same thing. If you heard me talk about kind of my Thanksgiving prep, I do the same thing for family gatherings. I do one plate. I add all the food on there, and I can add as much as I want. My rule for myself is I just don't pile it on, right? So I have one plate. I eat slowly. I eat mindfully. And then when I'm done with that plate, I'm done for the meal. And that works really well for me. And so at a Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, there's going to be dessert. I will also have dessert as well, but I'm not going to have, 3 or 4. I may have one with lunch, and then one later on as a snack or something. So I'm probably going to eat more calories than I typically would, but I'm not going to overdo it. And so that is the strategy that has worked really well for me. If that's something you end up trying out, let me know. Let me know how it works for you. Let me know your tweaks as well. And so what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to make sure that I'm enjoying the meal, right? I'm going to be with my wife. I'm going to be with my 3 kids. I'm going to be with my family. And so I want to make sure I'm enjoying the day, right? I don't want to be stressed. Maybe, I've done that before. I've done that where, the end goal is all I can think about, my weight loss goal, or maybe I have a physique goal or something like that. And, purely aesthetics, like I couldn't even tell you last year how much I weighed on Christmas. And chances are you can't either, right? But I bet you can remember a time when you were stressed out on a holiday, right? When you were trying to lose weight. And so it's just one day. Now, for me, like I said, I have 3 days of celebrating different things and then maybe a couple of days away with my wife. And so, that could lead to some potential weight gain, right? If I let, a few gatherings, a few meals turn into 5 days, right? And so for me, I know my daughter's birthday party is going to be on Saturday. That's one meal. So for dinner, I get right back on track. On Christmas Day, I'm probably we're splitting our holiday between sides of the family, and so I'll probably have 2 meals there. But those are that's going to be the majority of the food I eat. I'll have breakfast with my immediate family, with my wife and kids in the morning, and then I'll split it between the 2 families. And so that day I know is probably going to be a little bit higher, right? And then when I go spend some time with my wife for a couple of days, then chances are we're going to go to a restaurant that we don't normally get to go to, and so we'll probably eat a little bit more. And so, but what I keep what I always have to remind myself too is it's one meal, right? Just because I overdid it on one meal doesn't mean I have to continue to overdo it for the entire day, right? If you think to yourself, your calorie goal, maybe your calorie goal for the day is 2,000, right? And you had a breakfast that's 1,200. And so now you've already ruined your progress. There's no way you're going to hit 2,000. So you go over on lunch and then you go over on dinner. And all of a sudden you end the day, you're at like 3,500 calories. And if you would have just got back on track with the next meal, you could have ended the day maybe just 400 or 500 calories over, right? And so the important thing to remember is that if you do go over on one meal, or maybe you ate a little bit more than you planned, right? That could easily happen, right? It's Christmas, you're with family, you're going to enjoy some good food. You're talking, you're hanging out with buddies, maybe your cousins, your aunts and uncles, your brother and sister, people you don't get to see a lot. Maybe you have a couple beers, you're just talking, you're snacking throughout the day. You're probably going to eat more than you normally do. And that's okay. It's okay to have a day like that every once in a while, right? But what we don't want to do is let every single day be like that from now until New Year's Day, right? Because it could easily happen, right? Maybe you're not working next week, right? So you have Christmas Day off, and you get the 26th, 27th, 28th, 28th. Now all these days, all of a sudden it's New Year's Eve, it's New Year's Day. You go to New Year's Eve party. All these things start adding up, and then you start your New Year's resolution again, and your goal is to lose weight. And now, before you can even start making progress, you have to lose all that weight that you've just gained over the past month since Thanksgiving. And so remember, it's just one meal. Try out the strategies that I've talked about. If they help you, great. If not, find something that does work for you. I know that this has worked very well for me. It's worked very well for other people. And it's not the only thing you can do, right? There are plenty of different approaches you can take. But give this a shot. And if it's helpful for you, just let me know, right? I like hearing from people. I like when people reach out and tell me like, hey, I heard this episode. This was really helpful. Thanks for sharing that. And so if something does resonate with you, feel free to always reach out. All my information, how you can follow me is in the show notes. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a Facebook group. You can email me as well. I can always send that to you if that's more helpful for you. But I hope these strategies, and I hope the things that I shared with you today, do help you, right? Because I want you to enjoy the holidays, even if weight loss is your goal, even if you set a weight loss goal at the beginning of the year and you're getting really close to it, right? I still want you to enjoy the holidays, right? I still want you to enjoy Christmas and New Year's because, this is what matters, right? Being a dad, it's about, making memories with your family, right? And if you're constantly stressed all the time over food at family gatherings, how are your kids going to see that, right? What are you showing them? That food is stressful, that, food is either good or bad. Food has no moral value. Food is food, right? Some food is more nutritious for you. Some food is less nutritious for you. And so, you want to try and load up our meals with, foods that are going to provide our body with more nutrition, but, we can still have some of these sometimes foods, some of these fun foods as well. So give this a shot. Have a great Christmas. I look forward to hearing from you. That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.